If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members.
Are back. I'm Chris. I'm the CEO of Survival Dispatch, and I believe we've now set a new world record for the fastest we've ever been kicked off a platform. We got 15 seconds into this broadcast, and Facebook sent me a message saying that we had been kicked off for violating their terms of service. So apparently they think highly of Al-Qaeda, and we shouldn't have said anything bad about those guys. Anyway, tonight we are going to be discussing the current threat environment, the resurgence of Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, the threat that they pose to America, the combination of America's what seems like cognitive dissonance on this topic, making every day September the 10th until, God forbid, the inevitable happens. So I'm going to bring the guys on stage shortly. Just got a couple quick things to look after. First and foremost, we'll do the conflicted question of the night. Those who aren't familiar, conflictedthegame.com. They have multiple card decks. They have questions that are set in post-apocalyptic scenarios. And the reason it's called conflicted is because there's typically some element of morality to it. So I'm going to read the question. We want to see y'all's answers in the live chat, comments down below, whatever platform you're watching on, apparently not Facebook. And at the end of this episode, everybody on the panel will answer the question. So here we go. The economic collapse has happened. The infrastructure is gone and people are getting hungry. Neighbors are starving and starting to scavenge, looking for food to feed their families. You've prepared and have what your family needs. How would you keep your stores safe as you use them and avoid becoming a target? That's a good one. Then there's definitely an element of morality to that. So before we dive into the main topic tonight, I want to mention my friends over at Noble Gold. And as you can see, Charlie Kirk endorses them as well. It's the only reason I decided, to be quite honest with you, to take on Noble Gold. Normally we say no to every gold company that approaches us, but I felt that these guys have a good value proposition to save your retirement. So, a lot of people think that their 401k is safe, it's growing, it's going to be enough for retirement. $64,000 question though is, what if it's not? So here's the truth, is that your 401k, all of our 401ks, they were never designed to make you and me wealthy. It was created in corporate boardrooms to basically shift the cost of retirement and the risks associated with investments onto you and away from the corporation, and also designed to keep your money trapped, because obviously if you take it out, you pay taxes on it, blah, blah, blah. And it leaves you exposed. Just think of the crash in 2008, for example, and what happened to everybody's 401k at that particular point in time. And of course, that's way beyond your control, but there's one thing that is in your control, and you can take back control of your 401k by converting it to an IRA that's been backed by gold. So actual tangible gold. And here's the interesting thing with the crash in 2008. By 2009, gold had completely rebounded. Little blip 2013, really strong again ever since then. I mean, I bought a home in 2010 and I paid 1/3 of what that property sold for at the height of the market in 2006. So all kinds of stuff were suffering, but gold didn't. So anyway, noblegoldinvestments.com, they have helped thousands of people protect their future by converting part of their retirement savings into physical gold. If you reach out to Noble Gold today, you'll see it's really easy to roll over your 401k to a tax advantage gold IRA. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. They'll give you a free wealth protection kit, step-by-step guide on getting started. And if you sign up with them before the end of this month, they're going to send you 2 5-ounce silver America the Beautiful coins. So noblegoldinvestments.com. And here we go for the main part of the evening. So I'm joined right now by my good friend Jeff MD, former CIA operative, author extraordinaire, aka 007, and Randy Nance, combat wounded Green Beret from back in Texas, a good friend of mine as well. And we have JJ Carroll fixing to join us in another 25 minutes or so. So let's dive right in and get started with the threat matrix, essentially what the threats look like today from a terrorist perspective. I've been bombed, by the way, with emails and messages over the past few weeks from people saying we had no idea that there have been so many terrorist attacks since 9/11. Actually, let's start with that, because my personal opinion is that the reason the legacy media doesn't cover a lot of this stuff, and the reason, for example, the British are trying to lock this stuff down by throwing people in jail if they say anything untowards, migrants, is that they want us to buy this load of BS that they're just peaceful people looking for a better life. They pose no threat, blah, 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 blah. Jeff, I want to get your opinion and Randy's as well before we move on. Why does nobody say anything about this in the mainstream media here?
It doesn't fit their narrative. They're basically trying to flood the U.S. and Europe with immigrants. A lot of it is so that they can dilute the political base, and they can get, once these people become citizens and start voting, they get in power and they vote for those idiots, and they stay in power. And they don't want to stir up any popular dissent over the increases in illegal immigration, which is diluting. And so you also look at reapportionment in the United States; it gives them extra seats in Congress.
I think I saw a number that said if you took the non-citizens, illegal invaders, whatever you want to call them, into account for the 2020 census, it was either 23 seats or 28 seats would be lost from California and other blue districts and would go to red districts. So this definitely has an impact on things for sure. Randy, why do you think that mainstream media doesn't want to tell people about the stuff?
Well, as y'all just mentioned, it's not just our country, it's all around the globe. They're shipping these folks out to every country, and they're shipping them in fast. And then, we don't know how many actually come across illegally during the 4 years of Biden. We know it's a significant number. So, they don't want you to know this isn't the religion of peace. They're going to come over here and be peaceful and assimilate and all that good stuff. It's just not true.
Yeah, that's very true. Speaking of truth. So essentially tonight, for the threat environment, globally as well as domestically, we are still at what most intel people would say we're at code red, critical. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when something happens. You've got the Islamic State and its affiliates escalating attacks in Africa, Europe, Middle East. All of these killings of Christians, by the way, that you're hearing about in Africa, 66 killed with machetes in one attack, 34, I believe it was, in the second one. Those were all ISIS-aligned groups killing Christians in those countries. And the court, I think one of them I caught in one of the mainstream medias, but nothing for anything else. Of course, domestically here, we already have a bunch of these guys here. We've got, whether it be Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hezbollah, Hamas, we know that they're all here. Every last one of them is here. And then on top of that, you've got people that are easily influenced, like the guy who drove his truck through the crowd in New Orleans on New Year's Day. They say he had no direct ties to any of those terrorist groups, but he became radicalized online and felt that he needed to do something in the name of Allah. So that's potentially an issue as well. But let's pull this first one up here, because here you go, 34. So Democratic Republic of Congo, at least 34 people killed after Islamic State-backed rebels attacked Catholic Church. A civil society leader in Commanda told the AP news agency that the attack was believed to have been carried out by the Allied Democratic Forces, ADF, a Ugandan Islamist rebel group. And they burned everything, as you can see here. I've seen some pictures, which we can't share because we'll get smoked for glorifying violence if we do it. And there was essentially blood everywhere from where these innocent people were murdered. So basically the gist of this is this is Islamic State-backed rebels, another 34 people. This is in the Congo. And it's brutal. It's an all-out war on Christians in the Middle East. Jeff?
Well, yeah. I mean, they kill their own. Don't get me wrong, but when it comes down to real religious violence, Islamists want to kill the non-believers, be they Christians, Hindus, Jews, Buddhists, whoever. It is not a religion of peace. It is a religion of conquest.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but does it not say in the Quran that they're encouraged to kill non-believers if they can't convert them?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
It's like, yeah, freaking, you're good to go.
That's unbelievable. So next one up, we'll go to you, Randy. At least 8 killed, 13 wounded in terror attack in southeastern Iran. So at least 8 people, namely 5 civilians and 3 assailants, were killed and 13 others were injured in a terrorist attack Saturday morning on the building of the Justice Department in Iran's southeastern city of Zahedan, the capital of Sistan and Balochistan province, the semi-official Tasnim news agency reported. Golly, there's a mouthful there. Responsibility for the attack has been claimed by Jais al-Zoom, designated by Iran as a terrorist group, the report said. It added that upon entering the Justice Department's premises, the terrorists opened fire on the people there, stressing that the casualties could further increase. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, IRGC, said in a statement published on its official news outlet, SEPA News, that its ground forces managed to kill 3 of the terrorists. So this is kind of new to me, Randy. I didn't realize that the Iranians had their own terrorists who, basically attack Iranian people. Sounds pretty crazy.
Well, I don't know about Jeff, but that's a first for me too. I've never heard of such a thing.
Well, southeastern Iran is near Baluchistan, which is near the Paki border. And a lot of those people down there are Sunnis, not Shia.
Okay, and that makes sense.
It may be that, or they may be calling them terrorists, and they're just anti-government rebels.
Okay, using it as justification for taking.
Yeah, because they attack a government building. If terrorists want to kill you because you're Shia, there's a lot of places you can hit besides a government office.
That makes
But
sense.
if we look at all those countries, every one of them are Islamic State, certainly right there in the Middle East, and all those will stand. Nobody in there gets along.
No.
That's been my experience. No one in there gets along, and everybody's got a beef that's worth cutting someone's head off over. So
and long memories. And that's why
memories.
Syria is such a mess. That's the one advantage I think the Saudis have, except for some Yemenis in the far eastern part. They are, for the most part, all Sunni Arabs.
I don't know. I'm with Randy on this one. It seems to me like they all hate each other. So next one up, Islam's latest madness and threats rise and kill first. Fanatic radical Islam in all of its guises is a curse on the world and has to be stopped. A new religious ruling by Islamic sages calling for killing Jews as a holy commandment in the name of Allah. Why must we know about this, and what should we do about it? About a month ago, 350 Islamist religious leaders from around the world gathered in Turkey. Their mission: to create a contemporary religious ruling under the umbrella title, the Ruling of Islamic Sages. 40 Islamic organizations signed off on this piece of wisdom they created, granting it broad legitimacy in the Muslim world. For those curious to be exposed to these pearls of wisdom, the fruit of the religion of brotherhood and peace, here's a summary of their words. The sages opened their mouths and said, all of Palestine from river to the sea is Muslim. Anyone who gives up even a handful of it shall be called a traitor. Zionism is the enemy of humanity. Jews are infidels, and killing them is a commandment. Well, there you go. On October 7th, we were blessed with holy justice in the name of Allah. There should be no doubt about Hamas and the path of jihad. Iranian missiles on Israel are blessed, and all Arab nations must follow suit to destroy Israel. End of the wisdom verses. One has to wonder, what sort of God is Allah? In Jewish belief, God is the one transcendent and personal creator of the universe who expects humans to live ethically and justly. The Torah, particularly the Ten Commandments, outlines God's expectations for human behavior. So, Jeff, I'll come to you first on this one here. Give me your thoughts on the fact, and you know what my position is on this. I have no positions. I'm not on anybody's side in the Middle East. just want nothing to do with it. But how is it that 7 million Israelis are so threatening to 2 billion Muslims? I mean, there's an order of magnitude difference here.
Well, it's one thing is of the children of the book, the three biblical religions, if you want to put it that way, the ones that all believe in the same God. You got Judaism, Christianism, and Islam, because Allah, Jehovah, and God are all the same. Moses is a prophet to the Jews, to the Christians, and to the Muslims. Jesus, Isa in Islam and in Arabic, was a prophet. He wasn't the son of God to them, but he was a prophet, and he was a rabbi. I think the Israelis are a big threat to them because they are the original. They are the oldest religion of the book, so to speak. They are descended from Judaism. Their religion is an offshoot or direct descendant of Judaism. The other thing is that the Jews occupy what we call the Holy Land, and people have got to realize that Jerusalem and the Temple Mount, but that's for the Jews, but on top of the Temple Mount is Al-Aqsa Mosque, which was built on top of the Temple Mount, on purpose. But it is the third most holy site in all of Islam. It is from that location that their religion teaches them that Muhammad ascended to heaven. So that would be like, Christ's tomb, so to speak, to them, what Christ's tomb would be to Christians, or Bethlehem would be to Christians. It's a very holy site. There's Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem, and pretty much in that order as far as holy sites to them.
That's Mecca, right, Jay? I mean, that's what they call Mecca, correct?
Mecca's the first one. That's where the Kaaba is, and that's in Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, that's right.
And there's Medina, which is also in Saudi Arabia. But Jerusalem is the third most holy site in Islam.
Yeah.
So I want to give a shout out and thank Thermal Scan, put into the chat.
And there was somebody earlier also
that there's an active shooter situation unfolding in New York. So this is from Nick Sorter. He posted this 23 minutes ago. Breaking: active shooter with semi-automatic rifle reported on the east side of Midtown in New York City. Multiple casualties reported, including NYPD officers. Suspect is thought to be wearing a bulletproof vest. Pray for our boys in blue. Here's the next one. Active shooter, New York City, near Park Avenue, Blackstone building. One cop shot multiple times. Multiple people shot. Bomb squad on site. Blood bank called up. Suspect is Middle Eastern male. Suspect reportedly wearing body armor. Suspect using a rifle. So just for the people who aren't familiar with body armor, I want to dispel a couple myths here because we've done a lot of testing with body armor. So behind me right now is what's called a 3A vest, and it's meant to handle handgun rounds up to a 44 mag, but not plus P rounds. So when you hit a 3A is really light, it's not super heavy, they're not super thick. And when they say it's good for sidearms, it will not stop something like Pilgrim ammo, which is a 50 grain 9mm projectile, for example, traveling 2,000 feet per second. They also have a 45 ACP that's also right in that 50 grain range that travels 1,900 feet per second. Then you go from there to a level 3 from a 3A, and that'll take some common rifle rounds like 5.56. At the end of the day, speed kills. Speed is what does body armor in more than anything else.
Kinetic energy.
That's right. Then you go to the level 4 stuff, like level 4 ceramic plates, which NIJ's has come out with a new rating system. It's going to confuse the crap out of everybody, but level 4 has been renamed RF3. But essentially, that's supposed to withstand up to a black tip 30-06. And I don't think they've made black tip 30-06 in years. You can still find it out there in limited quantities. But that's what level 4 was designed around. I can tell you we've hit level 4 ceramic plates, and they've stopped a 338 Lapua Magnum, so a 250 grain solid brass projectile traveling well over 3,000 feet per second. Now the concussion would have killed you. Mike Sterling was describing how he saw some guys in the Middle East get hit with panels on, and it essentially broke their ribs. where the panel was. So the panel pushed into their chest cavity and broke their ribs, and they were DRT. But there is some impressive level 4 stuff out there. But the downside to the ceramic plates is that if you get one good shot center mass on those things, that's probably the only shot that it's going to take. And the next one is going to sail clear through it and kill you.
Well, that's not exactly correct, but it won't, you know what I mean? It won't take very many, that is. And I do know because of some of the casualties we had in Iraq during the initial invasion. And one of them was Paul Smith, the guy that was rewarded he received the Medal of Honor posthumously because he didn't make it. But he had 5 rounds in the plates, but they eventually got him in the head, and that's what stopped him.
So since I acquired Survival Dispatch 3 years ago, we've shot over 200 different panels. And I can tell you we've had single shot failures of some level 4. They're not all.
Oh, yeah. You know, it depends on the ammo.
They they'll shatter.
I've got a guy that makes 5.56 that goes right through it. So,
yeah, I'm not just saying like level 4 should withstand a 308 Winchester, and it will. But we hit some plates 2 years ago that were level 4 ceramic. The first one shattered it like you wouldn't believe. The second one went through one of those cracks and straight into the meat dummy that we placed behind it. So, I mean,
it doesn't give you a lot of faith in those things, does it?
Well, I'm not saying like I believe you when you say somebody took 5 hits to the panel. When we're testing, like when we set up for this, and usually I have JJ Morris do the shooting, we take quadrants, and we've got stuff that's dialed in perfectly. So when he hits this corner, it's not going to affect the integrity down here in this corner, so that we can hit it with different rounds. But if you get a smack center mass with a decent round, it's highly likely the second bullet's going to kill you. So I wouldn't trust it for much more than that. But point being is that just because this guy's wearing body armor doesn't mean he's invincible by any stretch of the imagination. And the next part to it is that the steel plates are super heavy. And we punched a 338 Lapua through a 1/2-inch steel AR-500 steel plate. It looked like a drill press drilled the hole right through the middle of it. Now, people aren't usually carrying 338 Lapua Magnums, but the problem with steel, even when you coat them, is spalling. So we took steel plates and we put them in a box, and we shot that plate while it was inside the box. We opened the box, and there was like steel everywhere in there that'll take your eyes out and all kinds of stuff. So
you got to have like Kevlar behind it.
Well, so have they stopped this guy yet, or do we know? Does it say?
So from what I'm seeing, Randy, no, he's still underway. I'll refresh this page here. And if anybody else in the audience has any extra intel, by all means, go ahead and ask.
With body armor or anything else, it's the kinetic energy, which is mass times velocity squared. So more velocity, you double the velocity, you get 4 times the energy. But then it's also how much space is it spread over. Armor piercing, they have very hard, very small tips. So they concentrate that energy in a very small space so they can punch through. Now, if you shoot something that's that big around, like a 12 gauge slug, for example, it'll knock you down, but it probably won't go through. But that energy goes somewhere, and it's going into you one way or the other. It's like getting hit in the chest with a sledgehammer.
So here's the first picture that I've stumbled across on this guy, number 1. Number 2, someone was reporting in the chat here, self-inflicted gunshot wound, 33rd floor on security camera. So it sounds like the guy may have taken himself out after he did whatever shooting that he was doing. Somebody else, CIA Jeff, freaking math. Here, let me show you something quickly just while we're on this topic. That's a 96 grain, 300 blackout, 300 AAC. Okay.
Oh, you better be careful.
So when we
they're going to take you off the air.
No, man.
If I grab one of the rifles, they probably would.
Oh, I know, man.
Live, right? But I want to make a point on this. So this travels on our chronograph. Muzzle velocity is a little over 2,400 feet per second.
Oh,
so when you take 96 grains at 2,400 feet per second, you come up with a little over 1,300 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle, okay? When we take the subsonic 300s, whether they're, 200, 210, 220 grains, the 200 grains traveling at 1,000 feet per second has 500 foot-pounds of energy. So the difference between what Jeff's saying, speed kills. So if you have 500 foot-pounds of energy from a subsonic versus 1,300 foot-pounds, and you have an 800-pound delta there between the two, this stuff, you're not walking away from this. But a subsonic at 500 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle, if you're 100 yards away and you're wearing thick leather or denim, it's highly likely it's going to bounce off you at 100 yards. That's all.
Well,
So,
for perspective, I always tell people, I think we did the math once on this a long time ago, but like a 22 long rifle hitting you has the same energy as a car going 20 miles an hour.
interesting. So
well, it's fair to say getting shot doesn't feel good. The faster it's moving, the more it's going to hurt.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting, Jeff. And Randy, you might recall this. At one point in time, the litmus test for how deadly a round was at any particular distance, didn't matter what distance it was, is if a round could penetrate a 3/4 inch pine board. So I've done these tests with 22 LR and set 2 of them back to back, so 1.5 inches at 50 to 60 feet, and a 22 LR will sail through the whole 1.5 inches.
Oh yeah.
You know, and people say it's not deadly. Well,
oh yeah, it is.
It is.
Yes, it is. You just have to put it in the right spot. I did want to say we need to give Mach 1 Babe 33. I think she was actually the very first one in the beginning that said something about it, and we got way past it.
Okay.
But I looked it up at that point, and it started 20 minutes before, but I didn't. That's when we were coming on, so I didn't look further. But I'm glad at least whatever. It seems like he's done shooting people. So
we got JJ Carroll's with us now. Hey, JJ.
Hey guys, how y'all doing tonight?
Hey, JJ.
Hey, JJ.
So we're a little bit off topic here because there's an active shooter situation. Looks like it just ended in New York City. This guy here shot a bunch of people, shot one cop up pretty good, according to the reports we're seeing. Now, we've got people in the chat who are following this, and somebody was on, I think, a police scanner in New York City, says that the guy killed himself, self-inflicted gunshot wound. But we're just getting the initial information. I don't know if have you heard anything on this, JJ, or are you going from one podcast to the next?
Yeah, I did not hear this. No. Do we know anything about him?
No, it literally just happened. It probably ended 5 minutes ago, maybe.
Someone said Middle Eastern male, but that's unconfirmed. Yeah, he could be black, he could be Puerto Rican, he could be, he could be just a dark-skinned white guy. I mean, can't tell him at this point.
There's somebody saying there was an active shooter this morning in Reno. I didn't hear about that, but I've been busy today too.
Well, there's active shooters in Chicago, but that's just called Saturday night.
No, that's right. Or every night there, huh?
Yeah, every night.
That if you look at the pants, that looks like that's the cop that got shot.
Man.
And they said
multiple. Well, it was definitely a rifle, so he
probably
there's
one body armor that ain't going to help too much.
No, there's been a couple people reporting that it looks like he had a 16-inch carbine, the bad guy here. So we're just getting this information as it comes in. Really appreciate everybody in the audience who brought it to our attention. Sorry if I missed you, Mach 1, babe. Must have gone by before I had a chance to catch that you were the first person to break it. It sounds like, from what we can tell here now, though, is that it's over. But I did see somewhere, I don't remember if it was in the chat or if it was online here, that they have 2 people in custody. Lady Ann saying the shooting in Nevada as well.
You just got to wonder if this is little trial runs, huh? Learning something.
Well, that's a legitimate comment. We can actually jump ahead a little bit on this because we're not going to have time now to cover everything that's in tonight's brief. The most important thing for tonight is we want to cue you guys up for Wednesday when Khalid from Command 11 will be back with us to talk about what's happening in Afghanistan with Al-Qaeda. And there's a video here that I've got queued up. I just got to find it, that actually speaks to that particular topic quite well. And if you just bear with me for a second, I'll find it.
Well, I know we spoke about that with Khalid last week. You know what I mean? That all these terrorist attacks around the globe are them practicing to bring it here.
So
one thing about this, if he went to the 33rd floor of a particular building, that would almost indicate he was going after someone specific.
It could very well be.
Doesn't it? Yeah. So I'm sure y'all saw this. The Middle Eastern man on a flight to Scotland had to be restrained after he made bomb threats and called for President Trump to be killed. Trump is currently in Scotland. Allah Akbar, death to Trump. Trump was right. Europe has been invaded. I'm going to play this, but then I have some commentary on this, and I'll get you guys to weigh in as well.
Sit down. Don't move.
So it's not hard to tell by looking at that the guy didn't make a huge effort, not to be overpowered, to defend himself, didn't have any weapons. And I spoke with Khalid on this particular video last night, and he agreed when he said that there's all these stages that Al-Qaeda goes through. He said they've already got all the plans in place. They're planning a 9/11 type event for Europe. And this guy here is now at what he referred to as the testing phase. And let me just share that, and then I'll get you guys to weigh in on it. So this is from Khalid Command 11 on X. Things have shifted from the planning and testing phase to on-ground implementation. They've codified targets, are now using lone wolf attacks to physically test system response. Essentially what this guy was doing was seeing what the SOP would be for this airline, standard operating procedure. Attacks are being carried out to properly assess law enforcement officers' response times. Where does the local system fail? What causes the local system to fail? Where does overload happen? What that order of involvement is from county, state, federal resources. Keep this in mind. Without launching an infrastructure attack on the 9/11 system to overload that, is there's been an app created on the dark web that generates fake calls to 911 to overload the system there or the electrical grid. This is also without the cyber attack component, which we discussed in detail in our threat assessment, along with attacker profiles, both tiers, fighter and support teams, the potential attack methodology, and the migration patterns of illegals into the U.S. Keep a close eye on Europe. Everything they're planning for the U.S. homeland attack 9/11 version 2.0 is being tested fully to understand impacts and make tactical modifications. So, JJ, you didn't have a chance to be on with us last week with Khalid from Command 11, but I'd like to hear your opinions on his take on this, that they're basically probing and testing. Did you guys, 24 years on the border, did you see like cartels and other people probing you guys and testing to see what they could and couldn't get away with by chance?
Oh yeah, all the time. The bad guys, they're not stupid. We need to stop thinking of them as these dumb rocks, right? Now they're violent and they'll do things that we can't imagine, but we need to look at them as a business. This is a business to them, and this is a business that they believe in, and they're going to probe and test. The very first thing that I saw of this video that struck me is I'm thinking, like, 'cause I've been traveling the last couple days. If I was on a plane and some dude got up and started screaming Allah Akbar, it would take me about a half a second to get out of my chair and then rock that guy's world immediately. Amen. Why is there this hesitation, right? When you start to say that, no one is going to believe that there's any other meaning to it except danger. And why are we so slow to react? I don't understand it.
Well, I was
thinking the same thing.
Let's dwell on that for a minute. So, Randy, why do you think it is? Like, let's just.
We've got apathetic, man. You've got apathetic, and people don't want to offend each other. And then somebody gets on a plane, but you got to realize, if somebody starts yelling that kind of thing, it's never been good for us. And you're on a plane now. Obviously, thank goodness it doesn't look like that thing had taken off yet, right? They were still at the dock. But regardless, man, I don't understand why people sit around and wait that long either, because there's something wrong, and that those things just usually elevate. So if you just sit there and let him continue to dial up, guess what's coming next? I don't know. We're about to find out.
Well, question for JJ and Jeff. Do you think that people are apathetic because they've seen things like George Floyd, Daniel Perry in New York City, and they don't want to, potentially face charges?
Yeah. I believe that. Yeah. I believe that completely. But this is a different component. You have nowhere to go.
Yep.
You're
Yeah,
stuck
that's
in a
right.
tin can,
That's right.
30,000 feet up in the air, and there's no waiting this out and let's hope it all works out. Yeah, I think it's a combination. I really believe this. I believe it's a combination of cowardly men and men that have beaten down so much to not care. Like, okay, this is not my problem. The world is on fire. I'm
Yep.
not going to get sucked into this, and they just walk away. Look what happened in Cincinnati the other
Yeah, I
night.
was just about to mention that.
Well, and that's interesting that you would bring that up. I think I already closed it because we're going to run a little bit long on time, but I actually had one of the videos pulled up on that. I was going to mention it this evening because I personally think that I've got one right here. There you go. 0 AP news stories about this attack, 0 Fox, 0 PBS, 0 New York Times, 0 NPR, ABC, NBC, CNN, Washington Post, MSNBC, 0 stories. They want to call us white middle-aged guys the greatest domestic terrorism threat. That's terrorism right there. When you have a bunch of people that attack, other people in gangs, whatever you want to call them, that's terrorism. That's your domestic terrorism for you right there. JJ, I don't know if you want to pile onto that or not, but that stuff really drives me nuts.
Well, if this was reversed,
Yeah.
all 4 of us would be screaming for the heads of the white people that beat the crap out of 3 or 4 black individuals, innocent black individuals. We would be screaming. Not only would we be screaming, the whole media would be calling us white nationalists. Everyone's a white nationalist. Everything is white is bad. I believe when you watch this, if you watch the full video, we're talking about violence that you can't imagine. That woman that's laying there, she was knocked out before her head hit the pavement and her eyes almost popped out of her skull. They're so wide open. I thought she was dead at first. I thought he killed her with a punch. Where's the outrage? Where is it? And you know what I'm tired of? I really am. I'd love to hear your guys' point of view because I do not think that I'm off base here. And I just had a conversation with my wife prior about this topic. I'm tired of being blamed for the world's ills when white people need to stand up and say very loudly, how about you just tell us thank you? Thank you for all of the world's accomplishments that we have created. We did. I don't want to hear about your slavery and all that other crap. We were the ones that stopped it, us in England. We stopped it. That was the trade of the world. I've never apologized for my whiteness. Never going to do it. I'm having discussions with my young son, like I'm a black sharecropper in the 50s, telling my son, listen, don't you ever be ashamed of your color of your skin. You're beautiful. God made you this way. Your eyes are blue because God wanted you to have blue eyes. He made your skin pigment that color because he loves you. It was wrong in the 50s for a black man to have that conversation with his son, and it's wrong today. And when are we, specifically white men, going to stand up and say no? And I will tell you this, I'm not blaming those men that got beat up, but I challenge myself when I watch that, and I ask myself a very important question. Would I ever allow myself to be beat like that? And I will not. I work out constantly just because I know the clock is ticking and my ticket will be punched. And I will not allow myself to be brutalized like that and filmed. I won't.
It gets
Well,
worse.
and it should be a hate crime. How is it not a hate crime when if it was the other way around, that's exactly what the charge would be?
So what's her name? Harmeet Dillon, is that her name?
Yep.
Yeah. She's already been on the news saying that she's watching what Cincinnati PD are going to do. And if they don't file this as a hate crime, she's going to do it, she said. But the Cincinnati PD is a woke mess, to say the least. And I don't know if you guys caught this or not, but on today's press conference with the female chief of police in Cincinnati, she described it as we've seen the videos of people fighting amongst themselves last night. People fighting amongst themselves.
Look, I have a standing issue with my wife and my son. You're no longer allowed to go to inner cities, period, without me. You can't. And I'm not that type of guy. I'm a very my wife is a strong woman and my son's a strong young man, but they are forbidden to go anywhere near a big city without me, because it is the level. Let me give you an example, because I was in Cincinnati 2 years ago, and took my family, flew to Cincinnati. We went to the Ark Adventure in Kentucky. It's the one. If you're a Christian, you have to go, because it's a replica of the Ark, and to see it standing 3, 4, 5 miles away, it's incredible. It's powerful. It reinforces your belief in your Christian beliefs. But we spent an afternoon in Cincinnati on the river, and it was Juneteenth. And the only way that I can explain this, guys, and I'll be very honest, I don't care how I sound. I'm just telling you from a law enforcement perspective, everything on my body started pinging. All I can explain it to you is it was as if the energy changed. It sucked out. All the oxygen sucked out, and something else got pushed in. And I'm talking, we were walking around, blacks, whites, everybody's walking around having a good time. And about 4 o'clock, it's as if we were infused with roaming groups of teenage and to young 20 males and females in the teens and early 20s. And the energy changed. And I looked at my wife and my son, and I said, we're going up that embankment to that road. You are not to stop no matter what. Start running now. And we ran out. That's how bad it was. And of course, there were shootings and all kinds of crazy stuff when we left. But how did we get to this point when this behavior is okay? And as a black man, and I've spoke to a gentleman that's a dear friend of mine, it's black, and he said, I'm embarrassed. I'm shocked. I don't want anything to do with that. And if this was reversed, and this is what I grew up in the Deep South, if this was white trailer trash, missing teeth, cooking meth in their trailer, I want them out. I don't care what the color, if they're my brother. They're a piece of trash. I want them thrown in the garbage. Why is this allowed in America? Why are we just sitting here looking at somebody get beat up because they're white? And not just beat up, guys. I'm talking about head stomped.
Yeah.
Head stomped.
No accountability is the answer. They're told that everything that's wrong in their community is our fault. 1.6% of Americans at the height of the slave trade owned African slaves. 1.6% of all of America at that time. And here's a number for you. I looked it up today because I had a very interesting conversation with a guy who's former British military spec ops guy. What do you think the percentage of the entire globe are Caucasian? Anybody want to take a guess at that?
Yeah, it's under 10%, correct?
Jeff?
Probably about 10, 12%.
Randy?
I'm not going to go against the grain, man. So we'll say 10%.
7.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. I knew it wasn't over 10. I knew it was below. Think of that, and we're the bad guys.
So that's what this guy said to me. This spec
We
op,
admitted everything.
he said to me, how is it that we represent 7% of the global population, but we're the bad majority? He said, we're not a majority at all.
No.
Anyway, it's insanity. So I do have that video, by the way, JJ, of when that girl got hit. Let me just bring it up right now quickly. So this is pretty brutal. You'll see what happens. So first, this black woman sucker punches her from behind. Then this black guy right behind here.
But Chris, what's shocking is they won't show you her face. The other videos show you her face. She looks like she's dead.
She does. Her eyes are wide open, and she's
Wide open.
For all intents and purposes. Yeah. And I didn't want to pick one that was not a good representation. And when I've got a break here, I'll try to find it. But here's the one actually from the Attorney General that I was mentioning right there. So 4 suspects from the violent black mob that attacked white tourists at the Cincinnati Jazz Festival have been ID'd. The city didn't lift a finger until Attorney General Dillon put them on blast. Well done. Arrest and prosecute to the fullest extent. So this one here is a guy who gets ganged up on. He gets up. He's really disoriented. He goes down again. Of course, they stomp him in the head, kick him in the head. I mean, somebody threatened me on Substack not too long ago and said I was a white supremacist, and said for every video out there of mobs of black thugs doing this, there's 10 videos of white people. So I said, okay, show me the video.
Show me that.
Show
I'd
me
love to
one.
see those videos.
Show me the
Show me
videos.
one.
Yep, show me the videos.
Did you guys hear that? I don't know if it's Miss Dillon or someone else said that they counted at least 100 people in that mob. Do you know how many 911 calls came from that mob? One,
really.
Well, you see Yellow Geechee in the chat. That's what they're saying. It's not always about race. It's clearly about race in this.
Clearly
If you
about
can't
race.
See that? Then hey, that's your opinion. Thank you.
That's 100% about race. To say otherwise is just being stupid.
Well, the thing is, since
there she is.
everybody who has a convention scheduled for Cincinnati, they need to cancel it.
Yeah.
Say, if you're not going to do anything about this crap, we're not going to bring people there.
So the chief of police is a female?
Yep. And so she announced this afternoon that they had arrested, I want to say 5 of them. But again, she described it as there were these people fighting amongst themselves. There were no people fighting amongst themselves.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of black people sucker punched a handful of white people and then head stomped them repeatedly. That's not a bunch of people fighting amongst themselves. Nobody was picking the fight. They got ambushed like they always do. Nobody else does this. But this
this is not an anomaly though. This has become the rule in American society now in the big
norm.
Cities. It is the norm.
It is.
And to say that, look, there's a very big difference between the inner city poor black population and the suburbs and the country. It's like their own animals inside the city of all people. The way they behave. This is, and I can go from literally. I did a segment on my show today talking about this. I could honestly play for a 24-hour loop, one video after another, either blacks trying to kill each other or blacks trying to violently assault whites. I showed a picture of Chicago this weekend, guys. I don't know if you saw it. It was 4 black people in the middle of the street hitting each other with shovels. That's the weapon they use, shovels. They were hitting each other in the head with shovels. You can't make this up. You can't.
No, you can't. You also can't say things like, does anybody know the backstop to this fight? This wasn't a fight. This was an ambush, an assault. It's attempted murder.
This was a mob beat down on 2 or 3 people.
This is not a fight. There was no fight instituted by the white people. They were ambushed. Watch the videos. They jumped them from behind. They sucker punched them from behind. Then they head stomped them repeatedly. That is attempted murder. And here's the chief of police right here. Let's have a listen to what she's got to say. Let me make sure I got it all pulled up properly. Here we go.
Oh, God.
At this time, we have victims and suspects identified, and we have charged 5 people in this offense. I'm not going to release that information to you. I will say, if individuals were down there and participated in this event, it would be in their best interest to come turn themselves in at one of our police districts. We have 5 we have charged and anticipate more. Let me be clear.
Oh, be clear.
Anyone who put their hands on another individual during this incident in an attempt to cause harm will face consequences. I don't care which side of the incident or the fight they were on. If they place their hands on somebody in an attempt to cause harm,
they're going to charge the victims.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're.
You hit them in the fist with your face.
Investigation, and all potential charges are being investigated for everyone involved.
But even there, you saw he just sucker punched that guy and laid him right out.
And techniques.
This is everything that's wrong with law enforcement today, guys. You have a grandma. You have an old grandma leading men into war. She's no different than that old grandma in New Orleans. Look at her. You think anybody's strapping on?
Right
yeah,
there.
Look at her. Are you going to follow that grandma? That old, hey, how about some brownies, Grandma? How about you just get in the kitchen and make us some brownies and cookies with some nice warm milk? This is insane.
Yeah.
This is insane. It's like being in New Orleans and you're run by that old. She looked like a cartoon character. How has this happened?
Yeah, I mean, I personally think you're being very misogynistic, JJ.
Good. I am. You're absolutely right. I think there's job that men need to do and women don't need to do it. And she is a prime example of a job that a woman should not be in charge of. Running alpha males. How many people, how many police officers in Chicago, in Cincinnati? 500, 1,000? 500 to 1,000 alpha males, and you have grandma leading them? Come on, people.
I have a shirt for you, JJ.
Well, and that was all word salad.
love
How
it.
many times did she repeat the same thing over and over, not really saying anything?
Well, that video cut the beginning off as well. You know, I didn't
Yeah,
have it
yeah.
queued up because I didn't
Yeah.
anticipate we were going to discuss this much. But at the beginning, she says there was a fight amongst individuals. There was no fight
Shit.
at all. There was not one single punch thrown by those white people who were. Did you catch that there was a fourth one in a parking garage, by the way? So there's
Yeah.
another.
Yeah.
There's another video that it's not just on the streets. There was a white guy who's in a parking garage. He's fixing to get in his car, and they did the same thing to him. They ambushed him from behind and then started head stomping him. Again, if that asshole who accused me of being racist, I would love to see all the videos of white people behaving like this. I'd love to see it.
But can you imagine, guys, if let's change it. Let's say it's a bunch of white men and women beating up blacks. Do you think people like you and I would just stand by and let people head stomp black people
No.
or head stomp anybody? We'd be like,
Anybody.
whoa, hold on a second. Even if you got there late, you'd be like, hey, the guy's knocked out. You can't head stomp him. You can't curb stomp him.
Yeah.
We just don't have any men left in this country. I swear to God, every time I watch these videos, I think, I'm thinking me and 3 of my buddies are downtown somewhere, and I'm talking my little buddies to my average size. Somebody's going to die in that melee. Somebody's going to die. I'm going to kill some of my friends are going to claw their eyes out. It's going to be a bloodbath. We might die, but other people are going to go meet their maker as well. But we don't see that anymore. I don't understand. I don't understand the beta male. I just don't understand.
Well, here's a black guy's take on this.
So the incident that happened in Cincinnati, Ohio, I've been like watching like comments and videos and stuff. But my confusion is, why hasn't this been deemed a hate crime? Why? Why hasn't this been deemed a hate crime? Jumping a woman, a man, socking a woman, and a bunch of other men just laughing and recording and hooting and hollering. Why aren't these people in jail, Cincinnati PD? And I know people in the Cincinnati PD. Why aren't these people in jail for life, the rest of their lives? I can see them on the video. You should be able to identify these folks. These people behaving this way. This is a hate crime.
Yeah.
Solve it.
So bouncing around a little bit here because we've got the other breaking news in New York City. This is supposedly who they took into custody. So I don't know if there was
No, I thought it was going to be a white guy from Indiana.
Yeah,
With a musket.
Yeah, you did. Well, of course.
And
So I have no idea if this is legit or not.
No, the guy who walked in the building with the gun, he had like a goatee. He didn't have a full beard.
He did not look like that guy for sure.
No, he didn't. But I don't know if there's more than one person involved.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just popped up. Hard to say what it is. But I did catch a couple things quickly that basically said that shooter yelled something like, this is for Palestine or something to that effect. So I can't confirm that. We'll have to research this evening to see, what really happened there. But suffice it to say, the world's losing its dang mind. And it sounds like things are clear in New York City now. And as we get more information, we'll share it. Anybody in live chat who has anything they want to share, by all means do so. we'll try to get that up. So we're really tight on time here. And the whole purpose of this evening's episode was to set the groundwork for Wednesday's episode when Khalid will be back from Command 11 to discuss how terrorism is flourishing in Afghanistan. We covered a bunch of intel last week, essentially showing that Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, the TTP, the ISKP, ISIS, they're all working together. They are in the process of testing out their attacks in Europe before they bring them here. The newest take on the swarm attacks is that they will attack 10 to 15 tier 2 cities that have one tier 1 trauma center. They will start in schools, offices, and retail locations, killing people to start with. And then in these 10 to 15 cities, they will take that one and only trauma center, level 1 trauma center. They're saying that they'll potentially kill people in there by releasing vaporized sarin through the HVAC systems. Then they'll use these places, these trauma centers, as home base to murder and torture Americans and, blast them out to scare the heck out of everybody. And that's basically what the intel is right now. But we know that bin Laden's kids are all now in Afghanistan, solid intel there, that they've raised money, that Khalid's intel says 12,000 AQ terrorists inside our border. And actually, JJ, let's just talk about that for a minute. So 200,000 special interest aliens is what you quoted as coming across that we know of. Does 12,000 or AQ Al-Qaeda sound realistic, or do you think the number's potentially bigger than that currently here in America?
Currently here in America, I don't have any doubt that there's tens of thousands of them. And we're kind of, I know it's important to quote split the hairs on this, because Sarah Adams made this point, and I thought this was a valid point. Al-Qaeda, they're not coming in to blow themselves up. They're coming in like armed forces to kill as many people, maneuver around, and not blow themselves up. And then you have the other terrorists that do like to blow themselves up. So I think there needs to be a distinction between that. Look, I've interviewed people. This has already been documented by other people. There are intel people with all the alphabets behind their name that are admitting that at least 100,000 PLA soldiers came into America. I'm telling you, at least 200,000, over 200,000 special interest aliens were arrested and released into America. And I could go one incident after another to show you how people were not counted or identified as special interest aliens and released, and they were on the terror watch list. So I want your audience to understand, I think this is important to say, if you just give me 1 minute.
Yeah.
When under Joe Biden, you would have a station, like say, take my station that I was in charge of, 200, we have like 150 beds, right? Spaces, because we're not a long-term facility. We're just there for 24 hours max. Turn it, get them into MCC, the federal holding. Instead of having 125 people in there, we had 500. We had 1,000 with another 2,000 waiting outside the station to be brought in. So there was a massive turn as fast as you can. No one was being vetted. No one was being looked at, and they were just pumping people in and out of the facility as fast as they can. Thus, we have terror watch list people being released and then going looking for them. And if you think that's the only incident, like you're trying to convince me that I can enumerate 10 incidences right now on top of my head that happened where we took not only special interest aliens, but terrorists and released them on accident. That's the only group that came through. Are you really trying to sell me that piece of garbage? We are most vulnerable we've ever been because we opened our border and we didn't even vet the people that we arrested. The government admits to 18 million. I'm telling you, it's 30 million. You want to just argue with me about that? That's fine. We'll just go with the government. The government admits to bringing in 18 million people in 4 years, guys.
So if you don't think a million bad guys could hide in that, would be very easily. I
need to go through my phone, and I'll send you this picture if I can find it, Chris, because I delete a lot of this stuff that's sent to me from my guys in the field. And it's just one picture of thousands that I have. And it is a group. The cartels determine who crosses, right? Where you're from, because the farther away you are, the more your entrance fee across the border. Well, they chose San Diego sector as the focal point of all Middle Eastern men to come. I saw video and pictures of 1,500 men camping out on our side of the border, all from the Middle East, all from the continent of Africa. And my guys were telling me 50 guys were hitting on the terror watch list every 24 hours. So that lie that 124 people were on the terrorist watch list last year, it's laughable. They're just lying to you. My guys telling me 5 would be identified as a terrorist. They would be swept away. And I would ask them, what did you do with the other 45 that you couldn't determine? Well, we released them, JJ. What, you released them back to Mexico? No. They walked right out the door. So Mohammed from Sudan that you thought was on the terrorist watch list, but you couldn't make the final determination if Mohammed was on the terrorist watch list. Instead of deporting his ass back to Sudan, you released him? Yes, every day by hundreds. One station. I'm talking one station, not the 100 other stations in the United States Border Patrol. One station.
You know, and you got to ask yourself, how did they know to come into that specific gate? All the Middle Eastern men I'm talking about. How would they know that?
They already made the smuggling arrangements through the cartels, and the cartels divvy up who gets to come through. No one crosses the border for free. No one. It doesn't matter if you're a day laborer from Mexico. Yep. Everybody has to pay the cartels.
Yeah.
So let's just stitch a few things together here. So for those of you who are not familiar with our friend JJ Carroll, 24 years CBP special agent. So he lived this for 24 years, personally arrested 100,000 people illegally trying to cross the border. And so when he says my station and my people, this is where he was stationed in San Diego for his career. So he knows of what he speaks, number one. Number two, somebody over the weekend took Sarah Adams to task and said something along the lines of she was full of it as far as Hezbollah and other terrorist groups working hand in hand with the cartels. So, Jeff, I'm going to go over to you on this one, but that goes back into the 90s, and I'll let him pick that up, why Hezbollah has been working with Sinaloa cartel in particular for all these years, Jeff.
Well, Hezbollah has been working with everybody from South America on up. They have smuggling routes, and Hezbollah, once they're out of Lebanon, are kind of have to be self-funding. And so a lot of the way they do that is smuggling people, smuggling drugs, smuggling whatever. It's kind of their forte. And when you're a smuggler and there's a drug cartel, it's natural that you guys get together and smuggle drugs. And also they can smuggle drugs back to the Middle East and through the Middle East back into Europe. So it's just business.
So some good points there, Jeff. Check this out. So Al-Qaeda is working with Mexican drug cartels. This isn't new. We know that this goes back into the 90s. And what Jeff said, basically, in Hezbollah's case, in the Middle East, they're funded directly by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. They call the rest of the world Unit 910. That doesn't mean it's one unit, one small group of guys. They just call Hezbollah around the world Unit 910. And that they teamed up with the cartels, as Jeff mentioned, to make money off of drug dealing, child sex trafficking, those sorts of things. But this is really interesting. Their cooperation dates back to deals with figures like El Chapo and others. What is new, however, is that the cartels are now partially funding several Al-Qaeda camps in Afghanistan. Notably, some of those camps were used to train operatives involved in the upcoming homeland attack. The cartels didn't stop there. They helped move those foreign fighters into the U.S. homeland on Al-Qaeda's behalf, and yet our government remains completely blind to what's unfolding in front of them. And that's a big part of what we're going to discuss on Wednesday night, this cognitive dissonance. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, JJ. What are your thoughts on there just doesn't seem to be any sense of urgency amongst politicians and even law enforcement circles with regards to what came across the border, what's hanging out here, how they've been trained, and what their plans are?
I believe the response to the interior is inadequate. I just do. Look, you don't have to like anything I'm saying. Let's just look at numbers. In June, ICE arrested and deported 30,000 people. That sounds like a big number, right? 30,000 people across America, and there are 50 million. I'm telling you, there's 50 million minimum. You are now hearing whispers of politicians and other people that are in the know saying the number is 60 million. Are we going to acknowledge that America is in peril and it's a national emergency and act accordingly? Or are we going to continue to act like this is all kabuki theater and it's going to be all right? What happened, guys? What happened to tagging the cartels as terrorists and going after them? When are we going to do that? When are we going to take control of our destiny and stop allowing people to run us over? Mexico's not our friend. If you believe the cartels are some entity outside of their federal government, you're a moron. You're an absolute moron. They're tied. They're a narco state.
Yeah.
And why are we acting as if Miss Feinbaum, or whatever her name is, Steinbaum, the president of Mexico, like she's running Mexico? Are you really? This is the most machismo nation maybe on planet Earth, and it's run by a woman, and the cartels are taking orders from a female president? Are you insane? Are you that stupid? The narco smugglers are running everything, and our country is just, it's inadequate. Everything we're doing is inadequate. And I'm not blaming Trump. Trump's fighting for his life, guys. I mean, the guy's doing trade deals. He's trying to figure out how to secure the border. He's trying to get people out of the country. He's trying to arrest the treasonous bastards in our government. I'm not bagging on him. I'm just saying the problems are so great in America that I really don't know if any one person or group of people are going to be able to take on the challenges that present themselves. I think it's almost too far gone. I really do, because I don't see enough people that are saying, okay, I'm on the bandwagon. Tell me what I need to do to eradicate these problems from our society. And I don't think we have it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. There's a sheriff in Texas, and I'm looking for the video, but it's going to take me a minute to find it, who basically details how we've given money to the Mexican government, who've in turn given that money to the cartels to use against us. He stitches the whole thing together. It's a really interesting video. And if I can't find it, I'll post it up on one of our socials. But I want to just address one quick comment. I can't remember if it's gone by my screen. I've got all the chat from 8 different platforms coming to one spot here. Somebody mentioned something about Sarah Adams. We do have a bunch of mutual acquaintances and friends with Sarah, but one of the things we do have is her source. So Khalid Muhammad is her source for the boots on the ground source for intel in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Syria, etc. So Khalid will be back on Wednesday. He's from Command 11, brings some very, very interesting stuff to the table. But the one big thing that I wanted to cover tonight, we're going to do that quickly right now, and then we'll be back on Wednesday. John will be back tomorrow night. But this is from American Kinetics, spelt with an X on the end. They're based out of Florida, other side of the state, over in Tampa. So this report examines Al-Qaeda's strategic revival in Afghanistan, its global resurgence, Taliban-provided sanctuary, expanded operations across Africa, Levant, and renewed emphasis on long-form ideological warfare. The bottom line up front, Al-Qaeda is no longer in retreat. With Taliban protection, it operates freely in Afghanistan, rebuilding training infrastructure and ideological reach. Its global affiliates are increasingly coordinated, and a lack of U.S. ISR and diplomatic leverage has given the group its most permissive environment since pre-9/11. Key judgments. Al-Qaeda has reestablished camps, logistics, leadership hubs across Taliban-held Afghanistan. Taliban officials have not acted against Al-Qaeda. Some facilitate their activity. U.S. drone ops have ceased, allowing Al-Qaeda to operate openly and reconnect with affiliates. Al-Qaeda presents itself as a rational, disciplined alternative to ISIS, appealing to Western Muslims. Affiliates such as JNIM, Al-Shabaab, and AQAP now function in closer coordination with Al-Qaeda Central. Propaganda has surged via encrypted networks, AI-generated media, and targeted lone actor recruitment. Afghanistan, the return to base. Al-Qaeda and the Taliban now operate in an open alliance, and it goes on to speak with regards to our withdrawal. The fact of the matter is, we covered this in depth last Wednesday with Khalid. Afghanistan has turned into the world capital of terrorism, training and running exercises, learning how to use weapons, learning how to use bombs. It's like a university for terrorists there. And according to Khalid's intelligence, 12,000 Al-Qaeda already in our country. That doesn't include all the other terrorist groups that are working with them, because the enemy of my enemy's a friend of mine. They've all ganged up together on us. So before we do the conflicted question, I'm just going to give everybody a chance to make final comments on a few things. Go to you, Jeff, then Randy, then JJ. Number one, Afghanistan situation and the resurgence of AQ. Number two, the gross assault in Cincinnati last night. And if you want, number three, the active shooter situation in New York. You can comment on any, all, or none, whatever you want. Jeff?
Well, we've talked about Afghanistan, so I'll and I'll look at the Cincinnati thing. As a society, that crap happens because we let it. Then a guy cold cocked that woman and knocked her out. Any real man would have gone up there and done the same thing right back to him. When I was a kid, you were taught you never put your hands on a woman, and you don't let anybody else do it either. Real men need to step up, grow a pair, and wade in. You may get a bloody nose, you may get beat up, but at least you'll have your testicles when you get done.
Amen to that. Randy, you can comment on one or all three. It's your choice.
Well, I was just going to say, the Afghanistan thing, now it's back to what we thought it was to begin with, right? A hotbed for terrorists and for them to train. Well, it's actually happening now at full steam ahead. As Jeff said, this type of thing is still happening because we're allowing it. But as we talked about, there's apathy because now, certainly if you're a white person or if you try to do something, well, let's just say Crittinghouse, for an example. He was a white kid. As soon as he defended himself, he wasn't the victim. It was the crowd that was the victim. And that's what we're looking at here. And the New York shooting, I'm just going to say, it just seems like there's quite a few things that have happened in the last couple of days in this country, where last week we were noticing there was a ramp up. And even though it's roughly 5.5 terrorist attacks a day, it was more than that for a couple of days. It's ramping up. I would say, since we've heard they're practicing and all of these are connected to some degree, and that they're learning something for every one of them, I would just say these are the telltale signs that it's about to happen here. Yeah. Or could be. It's planned for sure.
So just a quick question for all three of you, then JJ, you can go. I thought Manhattan was like a gun-free zone. You're not allowed to have ARs there. How did this happen?
Yeah, how did that happen?
He didn't see the signs?
I think that's what it is. He didn't see the sign. Yeah. Or he could be illegal alien and can't read English, so we can give him that break too.
That's true.
Right?
JJ, you got final word on those three topics?
The three topics are all interconnected. And it's interconnected because we have been led by gutless men in our government for a very, very long time. And that weak men always leave a vacuum, a power vacuum. And that power vacuum is not going to be filled by righteous men. History proves that not to be true. It's always filled with bad men. And that's what we're looking at. We're looking at a society that's lawless. We are a society that is in moral crossroads. We're in moral chaos. And this is just part of the overall problem with America right now, is that we're kind of lost. And anybody that says otherwise they're lying. And I'm talking left, right, center. Ask anyone, ask them the simple question: do you feel as if America is on the right path, or do you feel like something is off? Something is going sideways. And that's how I feel. Every day is a day where I'm like, what is going to happen now? Because we live in a nation built on the foundation of law and order in order to have opportunities and freedoms. When you do not have law and order, you have chaos, and you don't have freedoms or opportunities. And we're in that chaotic state right now.
So breaking news is the one cop who was shot that we saw them trying to resuscitate has died. There's a second cop, apparently, condition not broadcast from what I'm looking at right now. And then there's also a civilian who's injured, not seeing a report just yet other than it says critical condition. And there's some news sources saying that the shooter worked at that building, and that building is where the NFL headquarters are. and that he went to the 33rd floor and committed suicide there. But it sounds like there could be an element of something to do with this person's work, whatever the case may be. I guess we'll have more details all in good time. But with all of that being said, let's do the conflicted question. We're going to wrap this up tomorrow night. John will be back. Then we'll be back Wednesday night. Mike Glover will be joining us as well with Khalid for global terrorism. SITREP will have the latest information on what's going on in the Middle East. And here is the conflicted question of the night. The economic collapse has happened. The infrastructure is gone, and people are getting hungry. Your neighbors are starving and starting to scavenge, looking for food to feed their families. You've prepared and have what your family needs. How would you keep your stores safe as you use them and avoid becoming a target? So I'll go Jeff, Randy, then JJ.
Well, you keep your food safe, one, by not letting everybody know it's there in the first place. You can. And second of all, you defend it. You did it there. You amassed this to protect your family. You can't let someone just walk in and take it. That's like killing your family. I think the way you kind of prevent is, you don't tell people you have it, but you can't feed everyone. I mean, if you've got one neighbor close to you and you can give them a little bit, like Keith Graves does, he has basically, food as charity food, but you can't just feed your neighborhood. It's not going to work. That means you'll all die a little bit slower. But one way you can hide it is, if you're losing weight, lose weight, wear bigger, make it look like you're starving too, so they don't come looking at you for food. But you did it to protect your family, and I'm not going to let my kids starve so my neighbor doesn't starve.
Yeah, agreed. Randy?
Well, I'm along the same lines with Jeff, man, and I'll tell you, you have to hide it, or you have to leave, right? If you have the opportunity to leave and you have a way to leave, whether it be walking or a vehicle, whatever, then I would leave and go somewhere else, because eventually they're going to be onto you. But I would be, you definitely wouldn't want to show it. You're definitely going to want to look like you're starving too. Because I'm telling you, man, I've been in plenty of military training in the field where you don't have a lot of food, right? And that's by design. So you would keep stuff from your MRE. And I'll tell you, man, I've been in sticks of guys in the middle of the woods and at 3 o'clock in the morning where you can't even see really, right? But somebody pop open some Skittles and start eating them, or pop open a package of peanut butter, and everybody's like, who's got the peanut butter? So you would have to be very careful and not exposing yourself, because what I will tell you is when it comes to starving, people will do anything.
Right. We're never more than 3 missed meals away from anarchy.
That's right.
JJ, what are your thoughts on this?
I think Randy's right. If I was in that position, I could leave. Like everybody knew that I had food, and I would have to leave, because eventually they'll overtake me. But if I can't, and I can't leave, then I have to do one of two things. Either I realize that they're going to overtake me, and then give out all the food that I have, and then try to survive that way, which I won't do. Or I take the first person that tries to bum rush my house and I kill them. And then because it's going to be the end times, I'm going to leave that body right on my doorstep, or right off my steps, and I'm going to prop them up. And everyone in the neighborhood knows that I will kill you if you come into my house. And that a lot of times, and they did this in the Middle Ages, and that's just a show of force. I know what you want, but the probability is this is what's going to happen to you. And that will cause a lot of people to pause and go, maybe I'm not that hungry, or I'll go somewhere else to do it. And I think that we're closer to these times than people can even wrap their brain around, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I don't know that I have much to add to all y'all's thoughts on this. I agree with Randy and Jeff. You got to make it look like you don't have any food relative to everybody else, but you got to defend yourself. Like JJ says, if you had somewhere to go to, like we do, we have a place in the mountains. That's where we would be heading ASAP. But yeah, I'm not giving up all of my stuff, so we can feed more people for a shorter period of time than we all starve to death. That's not why I stack this stuff up, especially my favorite stuff, the Carnival.
That's right. and we warned you. We warned
you. That we absolutely did. By the way, I'm just going to pull this up just because. So this is a video of. Let me deal with the volume to get it down a bit. So there's a lady on the ground here, and they put her in cuffs and they're taking her away. No idea what the relationship to the shooter is here, or if she's even involved in this. I've caught a couple things while y'all were talking that. See, there's your lady.
Well,
Right
she definitely looks like a white liberal.
She
Probably
does.
thought it was an ICE raid and attacked the cops.
Chris, I sent you a picture. They're saying that they got the first picture of the shooter, a Middle Eastern man wearing a bulletproof vest. I sent it to you. I haven't verified it yet, but I did send it to you.
Well, the picture we had a while ago, he hadn't taken
Is
his
it-
jacket off. You couldn't see it.
Yeah, that's the same picture that we showed, but I'll bring it up again. Appreciate that, JJ. So that's this guy here, and it looks like he's got a regular 16-inch AR carbine. Hard to
Got a
say.
can on it.
Yeah, it does have a suppressor on it. Hard to say, is he American or not? But people are saying it has something to do with this building where the NFL headquarters are. I mean,
But you see, you can't really see any body armor on him. Doesn't mean he doesn't have it. You can
No.
conceal, but
yeah,
right now I don't see it.
yeah. Like I said, I've got some 3A stuff behind me. It's only this thick. If you put a bulky jacket or a sweatshirt on, you can't tell.
Oh yeah, we
somebody's
did it
got
all
it
the time. All the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. So and it's lightweight compared to level 4 stuff.
Oh yeah, huge
Packing on the
difference.
pound.
Huge difference.
For sure. Did a quick funny story for y'all, and then we'll wrap this thing up completely. We had this guy send us. You guys will love this. I don't think I've told you this one, JJ. This guy sent us. He said it was a titanium body panel, and that it could withstand a shot from a 50 BMG. But of course the concussion would kill you, right? So you'd look good in the coffin. You'd still be dead, but you'd look good in your coffin because the bullet didn't penetrate you, right? And so we hit it with a couple standard calibers. We hit it with a 62 grain green tip 5.56. We hit it with a 308. We hit it with a 6.5 Creedmoor. And at that point in time, somebody took a pool. There was like 7 or 8 of us there, and everybody except for JJ Morris and I said it ain't going to hold up to 338 Lapua at all. And we hit that steel plate with it. He hit it. He took the shot, was right on the money. It was like somebody used a drill press and punched a hole through that.
Bink.
Like,
oh yeah,
it couldn't have been a more perfect shot through that steel plate. But anyway, all right. So a little bit squirrely tonight on the format, but tomorrow night, John will be back. Not sure what topic he's delving into tomorrow night. It may be the start of his series on Islam. If not, I think he's starting that maybe on Sunday. If you go to our Substack, survivaldispatchnews.com, sign up for a free account. You'll get all kinds of sit rep information, so situation reports. You'll get our Saturday watch guide, because we know that people on CommieTube, etc., are not getting notified of anything that we publish whatsoever. And if you decide that you want to sign up for a paying membership, you don't have to. But if you do, it's $7.99 a month or $74.99 for the year. Gets you 2.5 months for free. But when you sign up as a paying member, you get entered in the SDEN system, Survival Dispatch Emergency Notification System. We activated it last month during the bombing on Iran, warning people to have their heads on a swivel because retaliation could have been a thing happened domestically here. You get access to our private super high traffic signal chat. There are some days that 3,000 messages go through that. So when you sign up, you just send an email, support@survivaldispatch.com, your phone number after you've installed Signal. We'll get an invite to you. You get our entire library of magazines. Check this out. There they are behind me, all the covers on that wall. So there's 37 of them, and they sell for $10 a piece. So that's $370 you get there. Early access to instructional videos, Sunday Threat Matrix newsletter, and you get all the sources for everything that we bring to you, so you can dive into your heart's content. But that's basically it. JJ, appreciate you joining us this evening. Randy, Jeff, as per usual, really appreciate you joining us. Appreciate all of our sponsors. All joking aside, Carnival, CCW Safe, Compliant Technologies. If you support those guys, it helps them to support us. We have $3,000 a month in software subscriptions alone that we have to, cover. So every little bit helps defray some of those expenses, and it also allows us to work long hours to bring you the truth. And by the way, if you go to carnivalt.com, use the code EATMEAT, all one word, you get a 10% discount. We don't get affiliate money. We get a monthly stipend from them to help defray costs. But that's it. Appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Between now and when we come back, please like, share, comment, subscribe. God bless America.
God bless America.
Good night.
God bless America. Thank you, guys.
Yep,
And
thank you.
enjoy the closing video.
Truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have any, this decade, that don't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
Like, he just made a really big decision. Afghanistan. Yes. Were you the last person in the room? Yes.
Sadness and so many questions, tragedy and pain multiply. Some things we try to prepare for, others leave us questioning why. Our babies knew what they signed up for, quite aware of the price they may pay. In our darkest, horrible moment, why ignore us and why turn away? Land of the free, home of the brave. Our children are gone and only our memories remain. Forgotten country, there is no shame. These American heroes deserve so much better, yet still you refuse. Say their names. That moment is forever frozen as our children came on that day. A commander lacking compassion, checking his watch, nothing to say. Lord, give us strength, take away this pain. Our children are gone, and only our memories remain. To this day, they still haven't said their names. Our American heroes deserve so much better, this ugly stain. If you lied to America, patriots watch horrified. New levels of evil is our family's pain tonight. We will never forget. So we'll say the names. Say their names. Say their names.
Ryan C. Canals, Nicole G. Taylor Hoover, David Espinoza, Riley McCollum, Dylan Marola, Dagan Page, Kareem Nakui, Johanny Picardo, Humberto Sanchez, Jared Schmitz, Maxim Sobiak, Hunter Lopez.